Day 24, Ladakh standoff stiffens. China talks peace, but mobilizes. Talks break, no ice. India hardens. As troops stand eyeball to eyeball. Satellites nail ground reality. Chinese build-up snapped and revealed. Could standoff escalate to worse?
So can an escalation actually lead to skirmishes? Can it lead to an armed conflict between India and China at the line of actual control? Now, a top US official who watches India very closely, he's of the opinion that the situation could escalate. We will get you that story. Also on the show, Pulwama 2.0 Averted. And this is excellent intelligence work in the nick of time. Security forces in Jammu and Kashmir were able to stop a car, fire at its wheel, stall it at night. And this morning, as you've seen those visuals on your television screen, there was a controlled detonation and the explosives went off. 45 to 50 kgs of explosives that were meant to target a convoy of the security forces. Remember, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has been talking about a so-called false flag attack. Does it all connect? We'll tell you more about that on the broadcast. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Action-packed 30 minutes. Let's get started. Our top focus story on the broadcast is an India Today exclusive. Remember, China's talking very sweetly, whether it's their foreign office or their ambassador in India. They're talking about building relations with India and shared opportunities. But the picture on ground at the line of actual control is very different and deceptive acts by China. So in trucks that are meant to carry mud, China was transporting troops. That's deception. And there is a build-up that's happening at Pangong So and at some other parts. So even as China talks about peace, the build-up at the line of actual control continues. India Today's Manjeet Singh Negi and Shiv Arur with our top story tonight.
Day 24, the Ladakh standoff between the Indian and Chinese armies remains unbroken. Over the last 5 days, India Today has set the national news agenda, showing you the standoff in full explicit detail. And now, we bring you our 6th set of satellite images from Flashpoint Ladakh. The notorious site of a brawl between Indian and Chinese troops is now one of the 4 India-China face-off points. And now, for the first time, there's clear visual evidence of the actual build-up. Take a close look. This is the Finger 4 area of the Pangong So in April. With only the Indian ITBP camp visible to the left, now cut to May. You can clearly see the prominent camp set up by the Chinese on the right and increased forces on the Indian side on the left. A clear result of the early May friction. And as the month ends now, this Chinese mobilization hasn't pulled back. It's very important to note that while India has merely reinforced its existing position, China has actually provoked by setting up a new troop camp. China's mobilization across flashpoints in Ladakh has been conducted with signature deception. India Today has learned that the Chinese army came in trucks normally used to ferry soil for infrastructure projects. China used this deception to mobilize troops towards the border. In addition, the troops sent were actually engaged in a military exercise on the 6th of May on the Chinese side, but were quietly diverted to the border with India. The mobilization was rapid, and making use of better road infrastructure, this allowed the Chinese side to initially be numerically superior. But the imbalance has been matched with Indian reinforcements.
Our troops have taken a very responsible approach towards border management and strictly follow the procedures laid out in various bilateral agreements and protocols with China to resolve any issue that may arise in the border areas. At the same time, we remain firm in our resolve to ensuring India's sovereignty and national security.
Indian Jawans and officers standing their ground, unshakable. With Manjeet Negi in Delhi, Shiv Arur for India Today.
America's top South Asia expert is Dr. Ashley J. Tillis. He knows India, Pakistan, China like the back of his hand. He's been looking at these border skirmishes very closely. And remember, they haven't just started from the 5th of May. They've been on since 2010. You've had Chumar, you've had Depsang, you've had Doklam in Sikkim, you've had Pangong So, and the current situation at the Galwan Valley. And Dr. Ashley J. Tillis actually believes that China is following a larger design, and there is a chance that this could lead to skirmishes, armed skirmishes between India and China. He spoke exclusively to India Today's news director, Rahul Kanwal.
Professor Sumit Ganguly, writing in Foreign Policy this week, says that there is a real and present threat to peace in the Asian region. He hints at the possibility of some kind of a confrontation, even if it is a limited skirmish. Is that an exaggerated worldview, or would you share that concern, Dr. Tillis?
I haven't seen Professor Ganguly's article, but is he talking about India in particular, or is he talking about Asia?
He talks about, no, he talks about India and China, and in the context of the skirmish, the face-off between India and China in the eastern Ladakh sector, the possibility that that could turn into a violent escalation.
Yes, I think that is very much a possibility.
Why? Because there hasn't been a round fired in several decades now. They found peaceful ways of disengaging diplomatically, ultimately, which is what the public expects. Why is it that you are concerned that peace could be in jeopardy?
Well, because if both sides do not find a solution and India is compelled to accept the status quo, it either loses politically or it seeks to correct that loss by pushing the Chinese. And then the only question becomes, what are the means for pushing the Chinese? Diplomacy is ideal, but if diplomacy does not pay off, then India needs other chips to play on the table. And there are only two chips. One is physical eviction, which produces conflict. The other is a tit for tat strategy, which has risks of its own. So the only point is that the possibility of a skirmish cannot be excluded if this continues for very much longer and expands.
Given your understanding of India, the United States and China, how would you assess the probability of a violent skirmish?
Well, I wouldn't want to put any numbers on these things because, you know, it's hard to offer any numbers with confidence. But I think the situation is grave enough that it really requires the Chinese to think clearly about what is it that they're trying to do. At this juncture in time, why does an effort to lay claim to territories that really both sides have lived with the ambiguities for so long, why does it make a difference? And why is China prepared to sacrifice the modest gains that it has made in terms of building a workmanlike relationship with India for really marginal territories?
That's a very important point that Professor Ashley J. Tillis makes. What's the point? Why is China doing this? And is this happening just at one point at Galwan Valley, or is it happening at multiple points along the line of actual control? Let's take you to that area and show you through graphics where all is this are these skirmishes actually happening? I'm Gaurav Sawant, and we are being teleported to the high-altitude lake, the Pangong So in Ladakh. This is a saltwater lake at an altitude of over 14,200 feet above mean sea level in the Union Territory of Ladakh. So let's first go to Leh, and from Leh you cross the Changla Pass at 15,500 feet, and then you come to Pangong So. This is where Indian and Chinese troops are in an eyeball-to-eyeball confrontation, not just at the lake, but also on the north banks of the lake. As you see there, this is the finger area. You see these spurs jutting out into the lake. Finger 4 is where the Indian and the Chinese troops, we are told, are in an eyeball-to-eyeball confrontation. There is a perception difference of the line of actual control. Indian troops, they patrol up to Finger 8. The Chinese troops want to stop us at Finger 4. They want to patrol till Finger 2. This is a major point of confrontation. Let's now move forward to that big point of confrontation in the Galwan River Valley. This is where China wants to ensure that this 255-kilometer Darbuk-Shyok-Daulat Beg Oldie road that India is constructing is not completely operationalized. This road is operational. Indian Army troops are moving along this road. 99% work on this road is done. This is where there's a confrontation at 2 points. There's also another confrontation at the hot springs. Remember, these are unresolved issues from the 1962 conflict, but this is where, according to Government of India, this area is completely in Indian territory. There is no question about that. But China realizes that the speed at which India is building infrastructure, if it does so, China loses its advantage. The other point is this high altitude advanced landing ground at Daulat Beg Oldie. C-130 Hercules aircraft of the Indian Air Force. Very potent aircraft. They can quickly rush in troops here. Reinforcements can arrive much faster. This also ensures that China loses the advantage it had in this area, especially with this 255-kilometer road, the deployment of our troops, and the Daulat Beg Oldie airfield. This is where India says we will ensure that infrastructure development continues and we will ensure our territorial integrity is maintained. Let me quickly bring into this conversation Lieutenant General Satish Dua, former Chief of Integrated Defence Staff, and Lieutenant General Vinod Bhatia, former Director General of Military Operations of the Indian Army. General Dua, in your appreciation, the repeated skirmishes, standoffs that we see at the line of actual control between India and China, in your appreciation, could this lead to an escalation and to a state where weapons or arms could be used?
Well, Gaurav, in my opinion, we've had such face-offs earlier. True, this appears to be a little more serious. But if you take your mind back to Doklam, before that, 3 years before that, if you take your mind back to Chumar and Depsang, every time both sides brought in more troops, we had a bit of a face-off. All that dhakka mukka that went off this time, it happened earlier also. In my view, we haven't fired a shot in over 5 decades. So that speaks for something. I watched Ashley Tellis' interview where he said that, well, it could lead to a war between India and China. And my take is that those 5 decades, how we have managed is that, one, at the ground level, at a tactical level, we have some measures like border personnel meeting at different levels. We raise the level and we try and sort out differences.
Okay.
Secondly, we have some CBMs. We have CBMs that go up to Wuhan or Mahabalipuram kind of meeting as well. And the good part is that we have managed to always keep it below the threshold of looking at each other, unlike the LOC. So my take is that China has developed all the road infrastructure. When we do anything like this, they try to object. And we've seen their style is very similar. That first there are very blatant statements, then there are these face-offs, and then eventually, like yesterday, voices, some conciliatory voices being heard. Just the last point about we still do a full-fledged war.
No, but is this now at a point of law of diminishing returns? They've done it so frequently. They've now done it so frequently that, you know, in the past people would say, oh my God, what's happening? And now the thinking is, oh my God, it's happening again. And General Bhatia, you know, these CBMs are working because India is putting in the effort to ensure that the CBMs work. China continues to be as belligerent, if not more, each time. Each time it's more blatant than the last time.
Gaurav, let me try to put in some context. I also saw the interview of Dr. Ashleteles. He said there's a possibility of a skirmish. Yes, I agree with him. There's a possibility of a skirmish. But the probability is very, very low. Like General Dua said, we have managed it very well. They established mechanisms. We have CBMs in place. We have border personnel meeting points. And earlier, I was a DGMO when Depsang incursion did take place. And we did take about 22, 23 days to resolve it. And it was status quo. Thereafter, we did the same in Chumar, the same in Doklam, and now this. So I do feel that there is maturity among the border guarding forces. They are disciplined and they will manage to resolve it. And there's a diplomatic channel which are open. And like Mohan, it is possibly even at the political level. But the point that worries me this time is, but before I say that, let me also say, we should never ever rule out the probability of a spiral. We will go very wrong in it. So we should be prepared. Preparation, operational readiness leads to peace, leads to tranquility. If we are not operationally prepared, we will suffer in a big way. So that is a given. We cannot say that war will not happen.
Okay.
War will not happen if war will happen if you're not prepared. If you are prepared, war will not happen. And we are here to ensure.
Absolutely. And that's the difference between 1962, 1967, 1986 and 2020. If India is prepared, if infrastructure is built up in Jaldua, is that the reason why India is speeding up? You know, this airfield at Daulat Beg Oldie, the advanced landing ground, and the 255 kilometers Shok Darbuk road to Daulat Beg Oldie. Is China unnerved or unhappy that if India builds the road, China's advantage is diminished? If not, if not, it goes away completely.
Absolutely. While China has built infrastructure on its side right up to the borders, it always irks China when we started building the infrastructure. And mind you, we've actually, for very different and varied reasons, we've started building our infrastructures on the border, that especially roads, much later. So, and also, like you mentioned, 62. Now, let nobody be under any illusions. It is not 1962 anymore. Ours is a very well-prepared modern army. We always want more in terms of modernizing, true. But we are well-prepared. We are capable of taking care of our borders on both fronts. And we are a very combat-ready army for the last so many decades. So, we are well-prepared. And like General Bhatia said, we should always have our preparations are ready.
And General Bhatia, closing comments quickly.
And
yes. General Bhatia, why would China be doing this unless it's just testing a resolve that if we buckle, if we bend, if we let them come a couple of 100 meters or a couple of, it's salami slicing of our territory. If we relent, they will come. If we push back, they will go back. Is that exactly what's happening? Because China doesn't really gain anything. If there's actual conflict, China has more to lose, sir.
Correct, Gaurav. Today, China needs India more than India needs China. But China follows a philosophy of military coalition. They have done that in South China Sea, they do it at Taiwan, they do it at the India-China border. So this is one of their strategies. And I don't think this is at the local or tactical level or the operational level. This is at strategic level. There are a few positive factors for this. One of them is the COVID-19, the new emerging world order. China is under pressure. Most of us believe, it's a common belief, that the coronavirus made in China. And China is tremendously under pressure. A second thing could be the economic factor, where some of the companies are moving out of China, and India is one of the preferred destinations.
Okay.
So if there are insecurities on the borders, then obviously those companies would not like to invest at a point of time in their insecurities. So we'll have to see the overall thing. And let me also say that there are a few other factors also which can be but the fact remains that India's stance is categorical. No blinking, no brinkmanship. The build-up of whatever China is doing, India is doing proportional and equitable build-up. And this is what is going to lead us to peace and tranquility. We need we need to be equitable. We need to be proportional. China respects.
Oh, absolutely. Peace between two strong neighbors. Absolutely. Jal Bhatia and Jal Dua, as always, such a pleasure having you on the broadcast. For the moment, many thanks for joining me. I want to shift focus to the other big story that we're tracking here on India Today, and that is Pakistan state-sponsored terror's big defeat in the Kashmir Valley, Pulwama 2.0. Remember, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan was talking about this so-called false flag terror attack in India. That actually is a dead giveaway that the ISI was in the loop or perhaps orchestrating it. Fortunately, our intelligence agencies were alert, the security forces working with them, and the terror strike was averted.
A deafening, ear-splitting blast, followed by thick, billowing smoke. There's nothing left of the vehicle. An innocent white Santro with a fake number plate. And the unraveling of a suspected Jaish-e-Mohammed Hizbul Mujahideen plot. Make no mistake, this vehicle was definitely on a suicide mission. Perhaps identical to the Pulwama attack in February last year. A vehicular attack on a convoy that killed 40 CRPF Jawans. An attack that led to the Balakot airstrikes 11 days later. But first, how was this latest terror attempt averted? It started off with an intercept by the Jammu and Kashmir police 5 days ago. A joint team of the army and police began tracking the vehicle. Finally spotting it in the Shadipura area of Pulwama, the vehicle's sinister intent was immediately confirmed. The car was driven by a Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist who fired at the forces when challenged and escaped under cover of darkness. The car was strategically located for a possible quick dash to a strike zone, possibly the highway connecting Pulwama and Srinagar. Sinisterly, the Santro's license plate belonged to a two-wheeler registered to owners in Katwa. A joint team of the Army, Pulwama Police and CRPF began searching the car. Inside the Santro, the improvised explosive device was placed in a blue drum. The car was taken to an open area, villages around evacuated, and the vehicle bomb detonated.
खास करके जैश मोहम्मद हरदम प्रयास करता रहा है कि बड़ा सा सेंसिटिव अटैक करे, सेंसेशनल। ये लोग भी प्रेशर में है कि और ये लोग जो नए लीडरशिप इनका है ये चाहता है बड़ा हादसा करके और ये दिखाना चाहे नेरेटिव पे कि मिलिटेंट का अपर हैंड है जो हम लोग नहीं होने देंगे। जंगे बदर के दिन हम लोग काफ़ी अप्रेंशन में थे कि ऐसा अटैक कर सकता है, लेकिन उस टाइम हम लोग बहुत प्रिवेंटिव मेजर ले रहे थे। ऑपरेशन भी बहुत तेजी के ला दिए थे, कॉर्डन सर्च चल रहा था, तो उस टाइम ये लोग नहीं कर पाया था।
While the devastating 2019 Pulwama suicide attack was mounted by Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorist Adil Ahmed Dar, security forces suspect the latest attempt is courtesy an individual named Waleed Bhai, a Jaish-trained Pakistani IED expert. Forces recently had a brush with Waleed Bhai when he managed to escape in the Kulgam encounter earlier this year. While Waleed Bhai is believed to have been the bomb mastermind, sources tell India Today that local support was provided by a Hizbul Mujahideen member named Adil. In 2019, the terrorists managed to strike. This time they were stopped, perhaps at the last minute. But with the masterminds at large, they won't stop trying. With Shujaul Haq in Srinagar, Bureau Report.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.